tune your dial to the VUC in our 11th year. We would like to thank Simwood.com. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Greenfield Tech. Make tech dreams feasible and affordable. Go to greenfieldtech.net. OnSIP.com will give you a free SIP URI. Go to onsip.com/getonsip. For the last 8 years, we've been using the finest conference bridge available, zipdx.com. The VUC website is on bluehost.com. World local rate dial-ins from voxbone.com. Okay, and with that, we need to figure out what we're doing here, but we are going to be talking to, as soon as I get this, there we go, hello, talking to a whole bunch of people that we all love and respect, and I'm going to start from left to right and introduce everybody who's on this panel, starting with Kathleen King. Hello, Kathleen. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Mr. James Bowdy.
Hello. Hello, old chaps.
We have our good friend Saul, who's coming from. Where are you coming from, Saul?
I'm in Austin right now. I'm at the office here in Austin. Thanks for having me. As well.
And Saul is someone we've all known for years. He was has worked with various things, and now he's working with Emil, who's next on his treadmill. Emil.
Hello, VUC. I would like to just make a very smart joke right now. There was this initial slide on the you had that up, Jitsi, are we there yet? Right, that was just there. And I think the obvious answer to that question is not quite, but we're walking right now, getting there. Just
perfect. Okay, and
hilarious.
Corrado with us. Hey, Corrado.
Hello everyone.
Next up is Mr. Andy Smith.
Hello all. I couldn't possibly miss this one. Not with the wonderful and unique Mr. Ivov with us.
There you go. And of course, Michael Graves, who's got that beautiful background. Look at how clear that is.
Yeah. Hello.
Mr. HD. And yours truly, with my summery strong hat and so on. Who is going to start out here? Because I don't want to disturb Emil. I wonder if Mr. James Bowdy would like to do a little intro with his straw hat. James, would you like to introduce Emil? And
yes. Well, Emil, because he's been with us so many times, almost doesn't need introduction, but I'll have a go anyway. So, and he completely freezes. No, he's the man, the titular head. Is that right? Titular head behind the Jitsi project, which started off as a SIP VoIP client, but has then now spawned a whole family of different products, including the one that we're using here, which is the Jitsi video.
Jitsi Meet, JVB.
Yeah, I was going to say a conferencing unit, but it's not a conferencing unit, is
Jitsi
it?
Video Bridge.
If I say that, Emil will get very cross with me. But anyway, he's got a brain the size of a planet and a waistline, which is
a very tiny planet.
Yeah, rapidly decreasing. So, will that do? I'll take my hat off. I can't think with that hat on.
James, you're always so kind to me. Hey everyone, this is it's really great to be here. It's been a while. I think it's about a year since the last time we came here and we talked about the YouTube streaming feature. I was here with Aaron, and that was we still use that session as a primary way to demo our YouTube feature. It's on jitsi.org/live if anyone's interested. And I'm very happy today that we have a number of other things to talk about, things that the team has been cranking at for many months. And obviously they're open source, so available to everyone. And that's a big thing because as everyone knows, 2 years ago, we got acquired by Atlassian. The company that was contributing primarily to Jitsi BlueJim was acquired by Atlassian. And there was a lot of concern that, maybe the open source side of this project would lean away and fall into oblivion, as has happened, unfortunately, sometimes during acquisitions. And what we see now is that I mean, we've tried to reassure the community many times. No, look, this is not going to happen. But there's no reassurance better than the proof of time. And 2 years later, Jitsi is still the primary way we develop. The open source project is still the primary way we develop new code for Jitsi. And as a matter of fact, all of our production deployments just download the open source code and integrate it into our environment. So I'm really happy that we have been able to keep our word. So there's that. And I can, yes, go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, Emil, I just wanted to back up because there's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. No joke on that. But let's briefly trace. We don't need to ask you how you got into technology. I'm sure we've been over all that. But let's briefly trace, because Jitsi was originally a SIP client, Jitsi communicator, SIP communicator. A quick run through from that to where we are now. How did that all happen?
Yeah, let's go through that. I'm sure that I would very much enjoy going through that, and then everyone else can just fast forward to the part where we talk about the new features. So the whole thing started indeed as a SIP client. It was actually for a very brief period of time. It was called JS Phone. It was my master's project, and it was started with the idea. IPv6 was modern back then, so in the University of Strasbourg, my thesis advisor back then said, hey, what if we did an IPv6 compatible SIP phone? Because that wasn't exactly running on the streets back then. And I had always wanted to build that. So we started that. It's funny that I really like remembering this, but 2 weeks later, I came to his office and I said, it's ready. And almost like 90%, 95% everything is there. And 15 years later, we're still going at the last 5%, I guess. So it then turned into SIP Communicator. It lived like that for quite a while. And then we started expanding it beyond SIP. We were doing communication through XMPP and Yahoo Messenger and a bunch of other protocols. And so we just decided to rename it to a more generic thing called Jitsi, which, by the way, means wires in Bulgarian. And it symbolizes the many connections that you're able to maintain with Jitsi. And then that was our primary business. It was a very smart client. It did a lot of things. And one of the things that it did was conferencing. So you were able to get on I was able to call you, Randy, and then add James and Andy and Michael and everyone. And Jitsi was actually hosting that conference. At first, it was just audio. And then we thought, then we should really be able to add video to that. And we did. And in fact, we actually hosted the very first VUC on Jitsi in 2013. It was on the Jitsi client, nothing to do with WebRTC. It was a miracle that it survived without a crash through the entire call, but we did it, and that was the first, the really first manifestation of multi-party group video with Jitsi. But that wasn't very convenient. You know, hosting a call from your computer at home, a video call with many people, is not a great way to do things, because you become this router for video on your home connection. And if it's something like an ADSL connection, you can forget about a good experience. That you absolutely don't have enough bandwidth to send things out. So we took the bits of Jitsi that were acting as a video router, and we put them out on a server in the cloud. And that became Jitsi Video Bridge. And I guess this is really where things started exploding, because at that point, WebRTC was coming along. And it turned out that Jitsi Video Bridge and WebRTC were fitting together like peanut butter and Nutella. And it was really a great combination. And many people, including people like Join Me or High Five or Comcast, are using that as the backend for their WebRTC solutions. We developed our own our Jitsi WebRTC client, which we're using right now, Jitsi Meet. It was originally contributed, actually. It came as an external contribution to Jitsi, and then we continued developing it within the community and within Atlassian. And today, Jitsi and Jitsi Meet power video solutions in HipChat, Atlassian's HipChat, in other companies like Symfony, for example, or even open source projects like Rocket Chat. So this takes me back to my my student years when I was doing my master's and PhD, and at the end of them, I felt like all this work that I'm doing, and it feels like I'm getting nowhere. I spend all this time doing stuff, working on mobility back then, and then we do an article, we publish it, and it's over. And I feel I didn't know what my purpose in life was, or what purpose was I serving, what good was I doing, and it really became the primary way for me to personally look at and evaluate my life was how many people are benefiting from the work that I'm doing and other people around me are doing. And so I really got determined that whatever I do, it would have to be used. This will be my number one goal in life. And I feel I'm a very happy individual today because everything that the team builds, I don't do a lot of the building these days, unfortunately. That's probably my number one trauma in life. But on the flip side, everything that we do is being used by millions of people. So so that's really extremely gratifying. And it's especially gratifying when it's being used on the VUC. So there you go. So that's about it with the history. A number of, I actually really want to stress on that, a number of amazing people have been with this project. Some from the start, some have joined later, like Saul, who joined us a few months ago in the beginning of this year. But every single member of the Jitsi team is, I really love every member on the team. I think that we're incredibly lucky in terms of team. Everyone is extremely proficient in real-time communication. We have a great understanding of the entire communication stack, and I think that probably the Jitsi team is the thing that I'm most proud of in our project.
Well, you know what? I think they're quite lucky to have you looking after them. Emil.
Thank you for saying that, James.
I think there is one that you love more than the others, though. No?
Yes.
Oh, no, you can't say
Or
that.
maybe
Favoritism.
Well, let's keep the mystery open. And
Yeah. Well, in fact, I know Sahul's been on the VUC before, haven't you? But it's probably worthwhile doing a quick kind of 2-minute introduction, your introduction, and explain how you actually ended up working on Jitsi, which is completely different to what you were working on before. Not completely different, but different.
All right. So I have a different background than Emil. I started building PBX systems for enterprises while I was working in Spain. That's where I learned all the asterisk related stuff, voice over IP. And then at university, I also, the project I did when I finished was a SIP client, which I called very weirdly, yet another SIP subphone. It was written in Python and I was playing with it. And then a couple of years later, my now wife told me, hey, let's go find an adventure. And I found this job with a weird guy called Adrian Georgescu. And I had to move to Holland. So, okay, I went to Holland. And he was looking for someone with Python experience to build a SIP client. And I had already built one. So it was a great match. I started doing that. I did that for 7 years. And the last thing I was working on was basically a WebRTC-enabled conference solution that was also present on mobile. Actually, we were a very small team, and the idea was if we build this website thing and we make it WebRTC, now we can also move it to mobile with some hybrid technology. I used Cordova at that one time. And then somewhere in the middle, I mean, I think Emil and I have known each other for 6 years or something like that. So we talked and we kept talking. And then last year, he approached me and, well, one thing that I share with Emil is this goal that what I want to do, I want it to be as impactful as it possibly can. And joining Atlassian and the Jitsi community are a great way to achieve that in the WebRTC and open source realm these days. So for me, open source is something which is very important, and I have to be working on open source. That's what I've always been doing anyway. So that was a great match right there. So I joined his team in January, and I've been working on the mobile applications mostly, and a little bit on the rest of the things that are around it, like the website as well, or the JVB a little bit too. And that's the short story.
Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? So,
James, I think that you and I and maybe a couple of the other people have actually followed someone because we met, I don't know how many years ago, but he was about this tall. No, not really, but he was a much younger man. And it's funny to follow people who kind of grow up in the industry, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I remember sharing a coffee and a verse or something like that in Brussels with you during FOSDEM. The funny thing is, I talked to you and Adrian, and then went from talking to you and Adrian to go and talk to Emil and Jana with the Jitsi on the Jitsi stand. So funny that, isn't it?
Right.
So we've all been working in the same orbits. But anyway, that's enough of the history. Let's get on to the really, really, really good stuff, which is the new stuff in Jitsi Video Bridge.
Well,
and in particular, tell us about the adaptive bits.
I will tell you about the adaptive bits, but not right away. First, I'm going to tell you about a few other things that we have added recently. Let me start them in no particular order. There's one that's particularly visual. It's a GIF recording, so pardon the quality, but you get the gist. One complaint that we have been getting from users for quite a while was the fact that by default, people used to see, and this is not what you're seeing here, this is a new interface, but people used to see two thumbnails in every video call. They would see themselves and they would see another black thumbnail that's supposed to represent the remote participant. But in a one-to-one experience, everyone was complaining, why is there a third person in my call? This is just supposed to be a call with James. Why is there this black thumbnail? Oh, okay, that's James. Oh, that's confusing. So we went and got rid of that. Now there's only, when you're in a one-to-one situation, there's just your own thumbnail and then the main video of your contact. And if you ever like watching yourself, either because you find you're pretty or simply because you want to adjust the way what your camera is showing, you click on yourself and then your remote participant appears in the upper right corner, and you can get back to having them in the main view by clicking on them. So so that's number one, new one-to-one layout that we added recently. Number two comes from this problem that we see right here.
Jana's not a problem.
Yeah, that is,
Jana
herself
is not a problem, but there's another problem here, and if it's not visible enough on this screenshot, let's have a look at this one. The issue is that most screens today on most computers come in this wide width, privilege width ratio, widescreen ratio. That was really conceived for cinema. In fact, if you think of the history of TV, the primary use case for TV when TV went out was, I suppose, news. And the ratio that was chosen for news back then, and that's much more adapted to watching a single person talk, is 4/3. So 69 came later for cinema. And it introduced these challenges where basically height in the screen became scarce, and we were wasting that precious height in the Jitsi Meet interface, which is actually what we have here as well on this Meet call. So what we decided to do is, why don't we get back to a thinner view of the main speaker, and we try to put everyone else on the side. So this is how the newest versions of Jitsi Meet will be looking. Actually, if you download one today, or if you go on Meet Jitsi, this is the layout that you're going to get. And as a bonus, that film strip on the right, which you can still hide if you want to, scrolls when you have a lot of people in your call. That film strip scrolls under your own thumbnail, which you see all the time. So that's quite convenient. We find, and we're going to see how users like it, because we just introduced that very recently. Okay, moving on. We added something that I'm sure you guys would like here: the ability to control the volume for every participant. You no longer need to be asking people to adjust their mics and everything. You can just go on every participant and select whatever audio volume you want to have for them. So that's something we find.
Which I just did for you. I lowered, quickly lowered, and raised back your volume.
In order to
Dangerous
do that,
demo.
do you have to be logged in? Do you have to be a host?
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a great question, Michael. Normally, you don't have to be logged in Jitsi Meet at all. But the setup that we run here on the VUC is slightly different. So no menu appears for the guests and only for the moderators, which in this case is Randy. But normally, if you go and meet Jitsi, or if you just do a stock install of Jitsi Meet, everyone would be seeing that menu. So yes, we should think about what to do here on the VUC.
That explains why I can't click and get that.
That's what I'm saying. You can do it on Meet Jitsi, not on the VUC. On the VUC, you're supposed to concentrate on the questions that you're being asked,
oh, right. Okay.
and not worry about audio levels. There's an excuse.
That
As good as
told
any.
me, didn't it?
All right. Well, let's move on. That's George, by the way, another precious Jitsi team member. Speaker stats. Now, that actually you have here on this panel, and
Where?
I guess if you just press T. Unfortunately, the live stream people wouldn't see it, but everyone can experiment and see the speaker stats here and see. If you're ever wondering, hey, am I talking too much on a Jitsi Meet or on a VUC call? Well, now you can check. Just press T and you see this list of people and their times. And the fun fact is that we used to have these. We're 14 people in our team, and our stand-ups were, let's say, getting out of hand. We would start every day at 15 to 11 and go on for 45 minutes, which is not how a stand-up is supposed to go. It's supposed to be a quick meeting. And it was hard to manage that. And the minute we added speaker stats and we agreed that everyone will be talking for 90 seconds or less, and we started consistently finishing in 15 minutes. So I'm
and I have one here, Emil. I have one that I'm hopefully live presenting. Although, wait a minute, I don't have the focus. There we go. So there we go. And what a very surprising, Randy, 14 minutes. But this concludes the session, which we started way before.
Yes, that does include the session from before.
So that's just to show you what that's about. All right.
Okay, and now getting to James's request, adaptivity. Now let's talk a little bit about adaptivity first. We have been trying. So in Jitsi, there's this concept of video routing. It's not invented by us. It was in the market in initially long before that, but that's sort of the motto that we live by. The whole point is that if you take video routing, you generally oppose it to video mixing. The all-powerful MCU that people have known for decades, and where you basically take video streams from every participant, you mix them, and you send them back. Well, that's the motto that really everyone used, and still to this day many people use in order to do video conferencing. In Jitsi, we took a different approach, and that was primarily due to the fact that originally all of this was supposed to run in a client. Remember when I started with the history, we were working on a client first, and you could never implement an MCU as part of that would run on a regular machine. We wanted people to be able to do that with just laptops that you buy from the shop. And so video routing was the way to go for us. And the idea of video routing is that whatever I send out to the server is basically just relayed to everyone else. Now, when you describe video routing to people, the first thing that they come back with is, wait, but this is going to be really bad for big conferences, because how are you going to get all of that video to every single participant? Isn't that going to waste huge amounts of bandwidth, both on the server, but most importantly on the client, where you might even be running on a Android device or some mobile device that doesn't even have that much bandwidth? So how are you going to handle that with video routing? And this is where video routing gets really, really interesting, because there's a number of things that you can do to sort of thin the video stream of anyone before relaying it to their contacts on a call. So one of the things that you do, for example, is simulcast, which is and I should really just get rid of that video for now so that I can finish my explanation. So basically you have every endpoint, like me, for example, right now, I'm sending 3 video streams out to the cloud. And each of those 3 video streams have 3 different frame rates encoded in them. So basically, all of these are independent, mostly. And the server that receives these video streams can choose to relay any subset or any version of this video stream that's already made available to it by the client. So let's say that I'm currently watching Randy. I would get Randy's HD stream, but everyone else who is in a thumbnail, I don't need to get 1080p for them. I would, and the bridge would know that, and it would send only 180 pixels of height to me for everyone else who I'm only seeing the thumbnail. And the similar things would also happen with the frame rate, and but I'll get to that in a second. So this is how you use simulcast in a sort of static way, but there's this. This doesn't necessarily. This helps you make certain economies in the video that you're getting, but it doesn't help you adjust and get as much as you can whenever your connection allows it, and then the bare minimum when you're on a very, very poor connection. This is what we call adaptivity, the ability for the bridge to detect what sort of connection you're running on, what is your currently available bandwidth, and then only send you as much media as you can afford to put in your pipe. So here's an example video, and let me just explain what you see on the screen here. So you see a Jitsi conference with a bunch of people, and on the left side you see the OSX link conditioner, which you can use to sort of throttle your bandwidth, and underneath you see the amount of bandwidth that the person hosting where this was recorded, me, you see what I'm receiving in terms of bit rate. So I'm going to start the video now, and so we can see that I'm getting. Let me pause a little bit. Oh, go back here. Oh, this really works poorly from our presentation.
Yeah, whilst you're playing with that, is there a way of manually forcing a switch between the different quality streams? Because a little
actually,
bit earlier, I got stuck on you in low def.
No, that basically just means that the bridge isn't able to send you. It detects that it's not able to send you more than what it's sending you right now.
I got you back. Yeah, I got you back in high def, but
yeah,
just switching to Michael and back to you, and it came back in high def. So,
are you implying that we have a bug, James? We need to have a serious conversation after this call. That this is a mistake in English to say that Jitsi has a bug. Like, that's an improper expression. It's grammatically wrong.
It's an undocumented feature.
Okay, yeah, let's put it that way. So this is still a new feature, but actually it does work quite well. And we need to update the VUC deployment because there's been a number of fixes since we installed this, which is probably what you're seeing right now. So anyways, let's look at this. Now, if you see on the screenshot, my mouse hovers on top of the GSM bars for Yana, and I can see that she's sending me 720p HD quality, and I'm getting actually the above the bitrate that you see is what she sends and receives. She's sending 3 megabits, but the most important part is I'm getting 30 frames per second from her and HD quality. Now, I'll let the video play a little bit. And now I'm going to go and enable link conditioner. And you see I forced the 3 megabit limit. So this shouldn't impact things too much, but enough that you now see that Yana has been downgraded to 360p. And the label there says SD and not HD anymore. So this was, you can also see on the graphic on the left how the bitrate that's arriving to me really dropped. And that was only based on me enabling limit on my incoming traffic. So if you don't do this, what's going to happen is that packets are going to start being dropped randomly. And instead of a lower quality version of the video, you're going to start experiencing freezes and potentially scrambled video. And things are going to degrade to an unusable state very, very quickly, even if you actually have enough bandwidth to fit a decent low resolution version or standard resolution version. Now let's continue here. And what I'm going to do next. Yeah, let's see 360p.
It's great.
What I'm going to do next is go in and limit the connection to 200 kilobits. So again, we see that the bridge first dropped Yana to 180p, 180 pixels, and then eventually completely turned off video for Yana and for everyone else. But you can see Yana's audio levels moving, which means that I'm still hearing her. I have only 200 kilobits on the video conference, but I'm still able to participate. And then as I remove the limitation, I slowly see people starting to pop back into the meeting. And Yana's quality has increased to 360p, and now she's going to go to HD in a second.
Emil?
There it is.
Emil?
Yes.
Can we talk about the idea behind this, because it's not that obvious to everybody? But if, first of all, there are many conditions that you might be in a conference under, one of which is you're on LTE someplace on a mobile client. The other is you're on Wi-Fi and it's not very good in a hotel or whatever. So we have all these varying conditions, right? Plus, yes, we have all these varying devices. In fact, really what we need to put out to people that, you know, one doesn't think about unless you're in this business is that there's hundreds of variables involved in, I mean, you've got your device and you're talking to somebody, hey, hello. But the fact is there's all these different things that could be happening. You could have network problems. You could have device problems because not every phone or tablet is up to all the encoding. So, you know, I don't know if people realize what a miracle this is that we're even talking right now, let alone,
exactly.
You know, so let's go over that a little bit. Google has been pretty much instrumental in some of this stuff. They're doing a whole bunch of work on this, obviously, and YouTube does it as well as far as understanding what device you're on and what kind of resolution. But this is really one of the major problems. So the adaptive thing is with relation to these challenges, correct?
Correct. That's absolutely correct. And there is a in the early days of VoIP, people try to do simple things like I detect that I'm on a cable or I detect that I'm on a Wi-Fi, and I try to potentially change my encoding settings differently so that they would be more appropriate to what I expect my network conditions would be. Then when you start doing these things, you very quickly realize that that's never going to work out, because those assumptions in the vast majority of cases do not correspond to what you're actually living. You could very well be on a crappy Ethernet connection or on a great Wi-Fi connection. So that doesn't work out. And then there's been a lot of work in the industry on these adaptivity mechanisms. And as you said, Google have made enormous contributions in that field. In fact, the algorithm that we use in order to detect how much bandwidth you have was developed by Google as part of their Google congestion control. So really, lots of kudos to them, and thanks. We hope that we'd be able to contribute our own improvements very, very soon, and it's going to be great, as people say. But right now, you're using their algorithm, and the idea behind their algorithm is that basically a receiver of video packets is able to detect when congestion is just about to happen. And it's actually, at the basis, it's a very simple idea. If I'm sending packets to you, Randy, every 33 milliseconds, and I stamp them and I say, this packet left at time 0, this packet left at 0 and 33 milliseconds, this packet left at 0 and 66 milliseconds, then the receiver, you, is going to be able to see, hey, this packet was supposed to arrive 33 milliseconds after the previous one, but what I'm seeing is it arrived 40 milliseconds after the previous one. And then the one after arrived 50 milliseconds later than the previous. And what this is most likely indicative of is that there's something in the middle that has a queue, and that queue is growing. And it's soon going to start most likely overflowing, and packets are going to start being dropped. So you're able to react very quickly and send a message, send some feedback back, and say, oh, hold your horses, do something, start sending me less. Now, this is the Google side of the bandwidth estimation side of things. The other side of the complexity is that when you're at the video bridge and you get such an indication that tells you, hey, we think you have about a megabit of bandwidth. Well, you're in a tough spot because it's not like you have these literally pipes that have a diameter of an inch or something, and you can say, oh, that holds about 5 pipes, so let me just put 5 pipes in here. All these videos are with a varying bit rate that changes from frame to frame, and it's a very tough decision to decide, what am I going to send to you exactly? So you go and do a bunch of approximations there, and you take user experience into account, and you would privilege, for example, people who have spoken sooner, because if Randy, you're the last speaker before I was, the problem means that there's a conversation between you and me going. So if I'm going to afford to only send 2 videos, that's probably going to be me and you, because it's most likely what people want to see. So yes, it has been very complicated. That specific project took us, I think, about 9 to 10 months of work. We have many great ideas for what's going to come next, but so far we're really very, very happy with the result. So thank you for allowing me to brag about this.
We are too, but Tim just asked a question in Wire, which is he apparently has a problem with the Android app working with our server. I'm going to put Saul on this problem because he doesn't have to speak.
Randy, you're breaking up. What were you saying? No problem? No, you didn't say problem, did you?
Well, Tim, hopefully that was a joke.
So that's not going to work for Tim to join through Android here, because the Android app doesn't work yet with authenticated deployments. Unfortunately, so you have to use a browser.
Yeah, let me just jump in and say that, and Michael and I were talking about this before. It's wonderful to have iPods and iPads and iPhones and Android phones, but most of them aren't really that much up to this level of computation and graphics integration. So it's a huge challenge to talk on mobile devices. Now, there is a Jitsi, and you can, I guess Saul actually was instrumental in this, so he can talk a little bit about this if he wants, but I haven't used it much because I'm sorry to say this, I don't really believe that much in mobile apps for the moment. When are they going to start working? Do we need more hardware power, or what's the problem with these things?
Yeah.
We do. Well, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, in general, I would say that, for example, so in mobile, and kind of piggybacking a little bit with the bandwidth estimations that Emil was saying. So one of the things, for example, that can work well on mobile is a mode we recently added, because bandwidth is not always necessarily a thing you have, but you can use. So let's say you're roaming on LTE, so it's expensive. So the latest Jitsi Meet versions, they have audio-only mode, which I'm not sure if we have it right here. Let me check. No. So in the newer versions, which you will get when we update this deployment, the HD label doubles as a control. So you can click there and it turns your call in audio only. This is a use case we do a lot in mobiles. So mobiles are typically devices which are less powerful, and the bridge using adaptivity will send you less video. More often than not, it will be one single stream or a few thumbnails in your own great Wi-Fi, but you will get a degraded yet working experience. And if you are in a network where you cannot afford to use the bandwidth, you can always, there's this button that looks like a handset. You can click that one, and you end up in audio-only mode, so you can participate in the conference just with audio. the same way as if someone joins from the PSTN, which I'm pretty sure Emil will talk about in a little bit. Now, for bigger devices, like I guess 5.5-inch phones or tablets, you can really use the experience. Now, it's at the moment is not on par with regards to features, and it has less, let's say, controls because you also have a smaller screen. So if we add tons of things, you wouldn't have enough room to place them, you know. But I joined from the mobile client, of course, because I'm working on it pretty much every day. And the experience is pretty much the same. You don't have all this, I don't know, stream live to YouTube. We didn't have that button yet. Working on it. But the devices seem to be powerful enough. And when they're not, and they feel overwhelmed, they will send this message like, please send me less video, and the bridge will send you less video, and you will end up with the best possible experience. For example, right now, it has been, if we look at speaker stats, let's say, we should see who has been talking more. So basically, we have this, one of the things around that activity is sending you the video of the last recent participants. So mobile benefits from that a lot by not receiving video that it hasn't been, so for participants that haven't participated in the recent past, and this will reduce not only the bandwidth, but also if you don't receive video, you don't need to decode it. This adds up to the CPU usage, which affects battery life, and so on and so forth. So in the end, it's the same technology. And actually, if you want, they can go a little bit on what powers the mobile applications. You guys want to hear about that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could try to get Tim in, because I think that's what the noise we're hearing. Let's see if we can
No,
get him in here.
the noise, I think, is that Emil's
Tim is having connectivity issues, according to this. But Tim,
I think
we can get you.
Video muted as well.
He's all right. Well, yeah, he seems to be. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, what you see here is a web application built with React for the most part. We weren't built on React always, and so this is evolving. We're migrating to React, which is a framework by Facebook. And then Facebook themselves also launched a version of this that can work on mobile. So you write your application partially in JavaScript, but it ends up being a real, honest-to-God native application. There we have him, or not.
If we can get, yeah, here he is. Let's see if we can get him. Tim! Oops. Well, we had him for 1 second, and now he's gone.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is. Hey.
Yeah, it's a very flaky Wi-Fi with a very poor upstream.
Yeah, seems like. Okay, so I'm going to go on then. So basically, our application, even though we use JavaScript, is native, and it uses the same WebRTC engine as Chrome does. So it has all that built in. So even though you see it a little bit different on mobile, it's mostly the same technology, the same things, and it should work the same way, let's say. And one thing we have been working on recently is actually turning this application also into an SDK. And right now, you could embed the Jitsi Meet experience on mobile into your own application because we made it so.
That's potentially incredibly useful.
Yeah, so we are actively working on that at the moment, making it better. But the current applications are already a very thin layer on top of the SDK. So for those people who want to embed it, they can. But another interesting thing of the mobile apps is that they work with any deployment. So you can paste in the full URL, and you'll go to that deployment. Granted, as Emil said, we don't have authentication yet. That should be coming. And then if you have your own Jitsi Meet deployment, you can just join your own deployment. You don't have to host all your conferences in the public instance. So we made it generic. It's also open source as the rest of the things, so we're not hiding anything.
No, not hiding anything at all, really.
I don't think so.
Look, no wires.
I'd like to take this chance to also give a shout out to Lubo Marinov, who started this, really carried the torch of this React project for more than a year now, actually. So the whole idea of using React was really pioneered by him. So credit where credit's due, kudos to Duvo.
I would like to mention one thing. What we are doing right now, people should know about this. How are we doing this? So we have an instance called, well, we won't get into that, but it's an install on a server provided by some generous person or group. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people in it. We could probably have a few more. By the way, it's been very stable compared to historical occasions where we've done this.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's no, but seriously, would you not agree, James? Would you not agree that
I would? Yeah, I mean, this is solid as a rock now.
Yeah, and we've got 9 people in here. Let me just compare this to something like Google Hangouts. So Google Hangouts, or the paid version, which is Google Meet, which we tried, a couple of us yesterday. Not to get into the aesthetics or the interface, but the point is Google Meet, if you're paying for the service, is 25 people. But we all have the same problems. This is all WebRTC. It's all the similar technology. The point is that right now we have 9 people in here, and we have a very, very stable well, everything's fine. I haven't seen any problems, is my point when I say stable. So I don't know. I didn't look at everybody's different parameters. Tim is here. Now, he's in a challenged area, so I'm putting him on focus. But Tim is the only one that's having problems, and he's in a co-working space with some kind of Wi-Fi. The point being that most of these things are using similar technologies, but we're very stable now, whereas before it wasn't. And I wanted to underline the difference between, well, why should I use this as opposed to Google Hangouts? This is what I would call unsiloed version of a video conference. So we are using what could be our own instance. In other words, you install this on your own hardware, your own server, your own virtual servers, whatever. And you are not beholden to, say, Google, Apple, or Yahoo, Microsoft, and so on, whatever, Facebook. That is the main point I wanted to get to. And I took a while to get to it, but
you did, didn't you?
I did. I eventually got there.
A little bit.
Sorry.
Basically, you own it.
Yeah, yes. Well, the point is, yeah, you can own it. And most importantly, the whole data mining aspect, the encryption aspect, there are 2 different things. When we had Richard Stallman on, we went through this whole thing about who owns what you're doing and all that. And in this case, whether it's open source 100% or not, there's another question behind all this, which to me is the silo aspect. So if you're doing stuff on Google, they are at the base of this. So you don't know what they see or reap from your relationship with them. I'm not saying they're evil or that it matters. We've done hundreds of Google Hangouts, and we're happy with it. But all I'm saying is that if you want a private experience without the silo, you might want to go look at Jitsi Meet. That's, I don't know. I'm not very eloquent. If somebody could be more eloquent, please.
There's a whole group of people who would advocate that if you don't compile and install your own platform, the code for your own platforms, then there's something desperately wrong. And I think Richard Stallman is definitely one of those. So
he wouldn't even let us
go that
I'm a pragmatic.
He wouldn't even let us put our video on YouTube because he was so adamant that it had to be on a free.
Yeah, but casting aside the religious argument, from a pragmatic production point of view, owning the instance, having control of the instance gives you end-to-end control of the delivery of the service so that you can be more deterministic about how you want it to run, what you want it to do, your ability to fix it. It means you're taking responsibility for it, maybe more than some who would rather have it as a service, but you mean the opportunity to do that is fantastic. So this is where Jitsi Video Bridge.
That is just the sort of comment that I would expect you to come out with, Michael. You like to control everything.
And as Tim said,
when a Hangout has a problem, what do? Nothing. We put down our coffee cup, we go and we have a stronger drink because you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, because it's free. Actually, Tim mentions that Dr. Richard Stallman mentioned that he asked Jitsi to add full copyright on all of the JavaScript. So I don't know. I'm not even close to knowing what that means. Emil.
He reached out to us as well, and it's absolutely something that we'll do. It's a matter of finding a place for it in the to-do list. But yes, I'm actually grateful to him because instead of just complaining about it, he actually reached out with this problem. So it'll get fixed.
Okay, Emil, enough of that. Put Jan on, please.
Unfortunately, she's not here today.
Yeah.
But I do have some more things to say.
Okay.
Yeah, in particular, I'm guessing you're going to say something about things that you do with the data channel.
Unfortunately, not. To everyone, and particularly Tim's disappointment. Not much to say about it. Yeah,
because what I want is remote control of your treadmill.
Yeah, well, we're not going to have that. So go ahead, Emil. Do it.
All right. So this is really hot news because we haven't even publicly announced it on jitsi.org. We'll be doing so next week. But let me give you some pre-story here. This is how conferences in Jitsi Meet look. Then conferences in Jitsi Video Bridge. You have a number of things connected to a Jitsi Video Bridge, and that is even the case when you have a one-to-one conversation. We've often said that Jitsi Meet conferences are natively multi-party, and that's just a fancy way of saying that even your one-to-one conversation would still be relayed through the bridge. Now, this is this makes upgrading to multi-party very natural because you're already on the server, you're already in a room, you just need more people to come in. It is also somewhat wasteful for bandwidth that you might be paying for. You probably are paying for, and especially if you want to host many of those on a single server, basically all these one-to-ones are dead weight because you could potentially be connecting them directly with each other. And that is why we have recently implemented what we call a peer-to-peer for one-to-one feature. And the way this works is that every time you start a call, we do as normal. We establish the connection with the bridge. You have your media potentially flowing through there. But at the same time, we also attempt a direct peer-to-peer connection. If that works, we keep the connection with the bridge open, but then we use the one that is direct for your media. Now, this is different from the usual way ICE, the Interactive Connectivity Establishment Protocol operates, where it just would try to connect through a server and then try to connect directly, maybe using stun, maybe using IPv6 or whatever, and then it would pick one. In this case, we actually have two active connections, one direct and one through the bridge. Oh, and James, this is going to make you happy. We do use the data channel of the video bridge connection, even when you're talking directly, for things like telling other people how well you're doing in terms of packet loss or how much bitrate you're sending, basically sending your stats around, sending your
so essentially you're using the data channel as a kind of control channel.
Mostly information, not really controlling much at that point.
So but send the information and then the client sorts itself out depending on what information it gets.
Yes, pretty much. But the media is going directly. Now, the cool part is that when a third participant joins, wait a second. When a third participant joins, we will go to we will move to the bridge. These two clients will move to the bridge, and it will be instantaneous because the connection was already alive. We were keeping it alive. We're just taking the media stream from one of these connections and attaching it to the other, and you don't notice anything. And here's an example. Again, it's a GIF, so you know, don't. Oh, it's not even an animated GIF. Well, here's the. Oh, there you go. Now you can see that it says peer-to-peer. I'm connected to Damien over directly to his address.
Where does it say peer-to-peer?
Right there. Stop here. Right there at the bottom, in the lower right corner, after Damien's address. Very small, because this doesn't interest many people out there, other than the video geeks. There's a small label under in between parentheses that says P2P, and that's only for the aficionados, I guess, that are interested. So this is now a peer-to-peer connection, and then Jana will join this call. You would see her appear at the top, and then when I swing back to my GSM bars, you can see that the IP address that I'm connected to changed, and now I'm talking to the bridge. And this happened unnoticeably fast. And then Jana is going to linger here for a second and then leave. So now Jana left. I'm going to go back to monitoring what happens there. I'm still connected through the bridge in case she comes back. And then now I reconnected over peer-to-peer to Damien. And you probably barely noticed the change. So this has allowed us to offload about 50% of our traffic away from our servers and into direct communication. There's a secondary advantage, and I'd happily admit that I was wrong about this. But for a long time, I was saying that other than saving bandwidth, there aren't many good reasons to shy away from using servers. Well, let's say that when you do a direct connection, you let the encoding engines adapt to each other directly. You remember how I told you that when you do adaptivity over a bridge, you basically have these pre-encoded options that the bridge can choose between. But there's a finite number of them. There's specifically 9 when you do WebRTC simulcast with temporal SVC. When you have the 2 engines talking directly to each other, they can do anything they want because they can adapt directly for the receiver, change the resolution, the frame rate, the encoding, the compression rate. All of these things are now available options, and it's actually noticeably more efficient, and it results in a better adjusted quality than going through a server. So again, I'd admit I was wrong about that one. So peer-to-peer for one-to-one is something we're particularly happy about. And then finally, although maybe James, you had a question on this?
Yeah, very quick question. When you go into peer-to-peer mode, did you say you keep that channel via the
bridge open, yes.
So that you have that very fast switch back when required.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you just stop the media.
We stop the media, correct. We stop the media. The only thing going through that channel are ICE keep alives, which is just a message, I believe, every 5 seconds. It's a stun binding request saying, hey, I'm still here. And the server reporting, yes, me too, I'm still here. This is still an open channel. You can still start streaming media through it whenever you choose. Yeah. So
that is really cool. And you're showing off. I mean, you're going back to kind of Skype-like peer-to-peer functionality, which is brilliant.
Which is actually, I don't want to take unnecessary credit here. This is the standard. This is the norm for WebRTC one-to-one conversations. If you use UpRTC or Google Duo or any of the ton of WebRTC applications out there, they would do peer-to-peer directly the same way. The unique thing here is the ability to switch between the two, and specifically the ability to switch that fast while keeping your previous connection, bridge connection, open at all times. So this is something we're quite proud of. And then, still going in the wrong direction. Now, this is the final announcement that I wanted to make. Again, something that we haven't yet announced on Jitsi.org, and we'll do so soon. But now, on Meet Jitsi, using our Gigassi server, we have enabled incoming calls. So you can now have calls on Meet Jitsi and get anyone to join over the phone over a number of, I think we have 7 or 8 countries right now. And not only that,
did you kind of have that before, or was that just for outbound?
No, what I'm saying, we've had it as a possibility in the open source project, and people could install it themselves. Now, this is available on our free deployment on meet.jitsi, where it's a place where you can have video meetings without an account or payment or anything. You can just go there and have a call, and some of the people can join over the phone on that deployment.
So how does that work? I mean, do you actually have real numbers on there to show us where to go?
There you go. So you see, I'm in a conference with Boris here, and I've clicked on my contact list on the left and clicked on share the link. And in addition to the link, I also have a phone number and a code that people can use to join through the phone. It's as simple as that.
How do they connect to the right conference?
There's a code there that you see. You type a meeting ID.
A meeting
Okay.
ID.
So we have this. That's the part that is wiring specific to Jitsi. When people install this in their own open source deployments, they can do so in other ways. But we basically have a service that translates, that allocates a code for every new conference dynamically, and then translates that code into a meeting name when you're joining in.
So when an audio-only conferee joins, what do the people who are operating in videos see for that conference?
They see an audio-only participant. They see exactly the same as any other participant. You can actually see that here. You can the lower thumbnail here shows a person who joined over the phone, my phone actually in this case, and it's as if that person had simply turned off their camera.
I'm hoping that that's not your real telephone number.
No, this is actually showing off the other option. The final thing that I'm going to talk about. This is we also added the option for you to make outgoing calls from within Meet Jitsi. The timing that it's not for it's only a number of countries where the calls are cheap, and the time that you can spend talking is 2 minutes for free. The idea is that you're not supposed to have your meeting that way, but if you're waiting for someone to join, you can ping them over the phone and call them and say, "Hey,
get yourself on this URL now."
Yes, that's the idea. So
can I ask another somewhat petty question?
Go ahead.
And that is, why a 10-digit ID? There's no way there's going to be that many conferences going on the same server simultaneously. Why a 10-digit ID?
Because it's time that people get into the 21st century and stop using the phone. We don't want to make it too easy for them.
So if they're dialing in SIP, they still have to put in that 10-digit ID.
I'm sorry?
So I mean, you could make it so that there's a SIP connection available.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, you can do that in your own open source installation. You can do a 2-digit ID if you prefer. This is how we deployed the project and how we configured it. People were free to do whatever they choose.
Okay.
I love open source. It's great, isn't it?
So I guess we should probably just ask if there's anybody else has any other questions on IRC or ZipDX or anywhere else where we can see. And if not,
other than people trying to find out how to get in there.
Well, I will say while I'm looking at IRC that we are available on just about every possible platform, Stitcher, iTunes, and so on. Look for the VoIP Users Conference.
And while we wait, maybe we can ask Kathleen to tell us about the upcoming FluCon.
We are going to do that because Kathleen is going to give us an update on ClueCon any second.
Sure, I would be glad to. We're very excited. Emil is going to be there, so for those of you watching that would like to talk to him, you can see him there. It'll be good. He's got a great presentation. We're very excited for that.
Yeah, he's preparing himself for lots and lots of breakfasts in Chicago, clearly.
Actually, there's a few good places. We found some close to the hotel last year, so for those of you that are interested in breakfast, there are some good ones. Yeah, we're excited. We've got a lot of good things going on. The hotel, beautiful. Very excited about that. If you haven't booked your rooms, do that. Trainings. For those of you that don't know, we're offering a couple of trainings on the last Friday. We have a new and improved FreeSwitch training that we're pretty excited about, taught by Brian West. He will be walking you through all the ins and outs of FreeSwitch. And then the OpenSips guys are going to be there, and they're going to do OpenSips training as well. So you can pick either or. They're all-day trainings. Lunch is provided, and you can sign up for those. And we have a ton of awesome
Kathleen, which day is the Dangerous Demos on?
The Dangerous Demos are on Monday during the Coder Games.
Yeah, whose idea was that? Because normally the score is, I need a couple of days to go around and bully people into doing Dangerous Demos. And if it's right at the beginning...
we're going to do it a little bit early this year. Those powers that be that are in charge of scheduling.
I know, I love the Free Switch team because every time you're always changing things. Well, let's try it this way and that way, and it's wonderfully experimental. But it means I'm going to have to get out and bully lots of people before we go. Let's
remind people of where they go to check this all out. So it would be clucon.com.
Yes, clucon.com. There are plenty of beautiful little tabs for you to click on. There's information about the hotel, the trainings. You can register, the Coder Games. We actually have a page up for the judges for the Coder Games, who will be judging what. So you can go see who's around for that and who you have to sort of sweet talk.
With lots of bio information on there about who they are.
Yes.
And
yeah, we and headshots as well, so you can see everybody. And then we have all the speakers up. Well, not all the speakers up. There may still be some changes to that. But you can go see who's speaking and what they're speaking about and where they come from. So, what a good information.
And I hear that Emil is going to be doing a Dangerous Demo.
I haven't heard that yet.
Well, I heard it, yeah. Saul told me that Saul and you are going to do the most amazing Dangerous Demo.
Interesting.
I don't recall saying that, but okay.
All right. Well,
I believe it is now an official record.
I think that what we need to do is thank the people from left to right. So I'm going to go to James Bodie. James, thank you for participating.
I need no thanks.
No, whatsoever. You need no introduction either. And Kathleen King, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Saul, thank you it's always great to see you. Thanks for participating.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing what you do. Seriously, it's great.
I'm just part of a team of people that do the great thing. I come to wear the laurels.
I know, but we love having you. And Emil, thank you. Thank you for everything.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for doing the VUC for so long. This is the best online event for real-time communication. So thank you for keeping it going for so long.
And it does seem like a very long time. Moving on to Corrado. Hello, Corrado.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
See you later. And Mr. Andy Smith. Andy Smith.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. And yeah, that as usual, that was absolutely wonderful. And new things coming in Jitsi Meet is fantastic, as always. And it does seem to have improved somewhat. It's certainly a lot more stable than it was. And everything's cool. It's good. Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Saul. Thank you to the whole of the Jitsi team.
I agree. And last but not least, Michael Graves. Michael, thank you for all you do.
Oh, happy to be of service. Speaking of which, we'll be at, I just confirmed this week that I'll be at ClueCon, so.
Yeehaw!
Oh my God, we might actually see you in real physical shape.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
prove that I exist and I'm not just a bot. Yeah, it's true.
I think that's probably one of the biggest highlights this year.
Actually, I'm looking forward to getting together with several of the folks, but the idea of yourself, Emil, and your team, and myself and Carl dropping in on Carl Fife in Chicago, I think that'll be a very animated conversation.
Well, don't drop in on, drag him into ClueCon.
Yes,
so we can all share the
hope.
Experience.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, thanks to everybody who makes this possible. We're in our 11th year. Go to VUC.me. We have a bunch of wonderful people who help us out, including all of the people I just introduced you to here. One of these days, we're going to just move over to Jitsi Meet and forget the rest of these hangout things. But in the meantime, see you very soon. Next week, I have no idea who's going to be here, but we will have a guest. And as soon as I find the place to stop the live stream, we'll be off. Here it is. Stop live stream.